Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Versace Stoner, with another episode of VSW. What is up, everybody? I'm alongside here with the Yoga Demon.
Hello, everyone. Super ecstatic to be back. I'm the Yoga Demon. My real name is Mike Panchu. I got a million nicknames. Mike Pikachu, Machu Picchu, the Yoga Demon, Mike Pikachu. The list goes on. If y'all can come up with more, that'd be super appreciated.
We sure love nicknames here at the VSW. So what is everybody up to on this great Friday afternoon? I have to ask, tonight we got a pretty good card for Smackdown and a very important match. Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan, career on the line for DB.
This is quite the stacked Smackdown. I haven't been this hyped for a Smackdown in quite some time, to be honest.
No, to be honest, I haven't either. WrestleMania we went to was great. Always after Mania, I kind of just, lose a little, not faith, but just lose a little momentum in watching. I feel like the storylines are so much better building up to Mania, and not so much, and then they pick up again during SummerSlam time. But, WWE is rolling full steam ahead. They're kind of also using, the WrestleMania gimmick name to drive the force, We're going to have Backlash WrestleMania, presents, or WrestleMania 37 Backlash, or whatever it is. They could do that all the way up. Who knows, the whole year. But, they're not losing momentum this year. Other years they've lost a little steam. This year I don't really see them doing it. I am super excited for this card tonight. But let's talk a little bit about, this Daniel Bryan thing. You got Daniel Bryan, he's, I would say, a very matured wrestler at this point. He's had a very good career, in the indie scene. Then in WWE, he's had a lot of struggle along the way with injury. He's overcome a lot. He's been a parent. He's done all sorts of wonderful things throughout the WWE. Whether it's with the Yes Movement, him trying to save the earth with his global warming, campaigns, and his, with his other title run. And, back to the Yes Movement, the fans are just behind him. You got to ask yourself, though, all good things come to an end. Will this be it?
I do believe this is it for Daniel Bryan. I do see him losing tonight, and as a way to write him off, WWE Roman will beat him down. Maybe the other Uso brother will come in, but overall I do see Roman winning. If he retires Daniel Bryan, who's pretty much a Hall of Famer at this point, that will really get him a lot of heel heat. And in a sense, if Roman writes off Bryan, this really sets up the Roman versus Cesaro feud.
It does. It will. And it will also, it will solidify his, both his heel status and, his legacy as champion. This has been impressive for him, compared to his other title runs. I think the fans this time are really definitely behind. They were behind him before, but now you got him behind him for a whole different reason. You got the Usos involved. I do think you're right. I think tonight will be the night that, DB is technically retiring. Yeah. He's not going to be done. He mentioned he wants a heavy backstage presence, help with the, the training, storylines, writing, whatever he can do. He's probably one of the best backroom generals, next with The Undertaker and other, superstars that have come before that have just, really been able to help the talent, in ways that we don't see during, the show, of course. Everything is brought in front of our eyes. We don't see the behind the scenes, but, people like DB are in the back room. They are working with the talent. They are working with new people. They are helping them, and it's a huge way for him to put somebody over and without losing total face value, especially if he loses in a non-fair manner. If somebody interferes, if Roman cheats, DB has to leave, but, it'll save face for him. It won't be a squash match, by no means.
For sure, expectations for tonight will definitely be super high, and Roman really can't afford to take a loss. This is the best he's ever been, and moving forward, I'm just excited to see where the heel Roman goes from here. I mean, he can really have some high-profile matches with Cesaro if they bring back Lesnar, Cena, The Rock. He's done a couple of those feuds, but it would be so much better now, just considering where he's at.
I mean, could we even see maybe down the line a face Seth Rollins versus a heel Roman Reigns? How would that work? Two former Shield members going at it for the world title, both former title holders.
That would be huge, absolutely huge. Those two guys are pretty much the top guys in the company right now.
They are, and right now they're both heels. Their heel work, in my opinion, their heel work has outdone their, babyface work. That whole Monday night Rollins really kind of solidified for me. Before that, to me, he was rather stale. He was an annoying champion to me. Not really off for all that babyface crap. I'm only really behind a few of the baby faces. But his heel work lately has been great. His mic work is phenomenal. He's always been great in the mic, but at least now he doesn't have to talk, he can talk more. It seems like he has a little bit more freedom. I don't know. But yeah, him versus Roman would be a huge match, especially if, Rollins did turn face again. Or even do a heel against heel. Who knows, It's worked in the past when you face two of the same kind of opponents against each other. It has worked. If the storyline is strong enough, it can work. There's a lot that can go with Roman Reigns, from here on out.
It just goes to show too, you can do the same matches over and over, but they can be interesting if the storyline is good and the roles are swapped.
Exactly. If the roles are swapped, you can get a totally different match, even if the personas are a little bit different. Just, a year's difference can change everything. And that's definitely, I believe, what it can do for Roman. I mean, he can have this, put it this way. A couple of years ago when he fought Lesnar, people were booing and walking out the stage. If he was to fight Lesnar today, the crowd, we wouldn't even have a high enough capacity for sellout. It would be gone. It would be sold out easily.
Absolutely.
Both of those superstars would draw huge right now. And, 2 years ago, they were booed out of there. And that's the thing. Roman Reigns can reach the heights all the way, as far as he wants, really. People have speculated. The Sable Wolf, our other podcast member here, has been speculating for it seems like years that he is bound to face The Rock, one-on-one at some point. Either it's, next year or WrestleMania Hollywood, when they do that in 2 years, he's determined that it's going to happen, and you're going to see this match. I mean, what do you think about that? And how would you? Would you want to see that? Would you want to see the return of The Rock against Roman Reigns?
I absolutely would. I would say that storyline pretty much writes itself. Roman is calling himself the head of the table. They got the obvious history outside of wrestling and inside of wrestling. Rock did help Roman win the Rumble some years back. They can really just put a whole lot into the storyline. Rock can just come in and say how he's disappointed in his cousin, blah, 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 how you turned out. It can really be a good feud, and The Rock, he would absolutely put Roman over.
Oh, I could see it. I mean, definitely I could see it. And I think it could be definitely one of those key WrestleMania moments that everybody would tune into. People complain about when legends return, but it's only certain legends they complain about. You're yet to see a return of a Stone Cold in the ring or The Rock. Or, if Mick Foley was to come in. I think the fans would go absolutely bananas. Like I said, I guarantee if they ever announced The Rock at WrestleMania, it would sell out faster and we could hit,
definitely
Ticketmaster. And, I hope it does. I hope it does go there. I think that would be great for Roman. He has done a phenomenal job. He's overcome a lot of obstacles in his life as well. Between his illness and everything, he's been doing phenomenal. He looks great. Sounds great. I think him and, with Paul next to him has been a great choice in kind of pairing them two. Really solidifying that heel, because there's nobody more heelish than Paul. There's really very few managers. It works. It's given the Usos a little bit more life in their career. They've been a little stagnant, in my opinion. Now they've kind of broken, free a little bit and been able to show off.
Definitely. And I feel if Roman does get these W's over Cena, Rock, Lesnar, in a way it really shows the transition period WWE is in, because their top PG star will be taking out the other top PG star, the guy from the Attitude Era, the guy from the Ruthless Aggression Era. So if he gets all these W's, he's really just showing that he's the top guy. He's here to stay for years to come.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think that's what they're trying to do. I think right now WWE is in another transition time. This year's WrestleMania. You were there alongside, well, not alongside, as me and Disabled Wolf did get, those VIP passes went up front. But, you were there, you saw it. You saw how the atmosphere was. Yes, it was great. It was good. But, it was missing those few stars that we all talk about. And it's definitely a transition year for WWE and what they're doing and how are they going to work their new stars. How would it even work without, a John Cena appearance or, Undertaker showing up at a Mania? And they did it. And I think it went okay. I don't think the fans were too disappointed. I think it will, they'll continue now with the years. But with the same, they will have to build up their current stars even bigger to get them to the heights of those guys. Where John Cena was, where The Rock was, where all these people were. Is Roman Reigns there yet? No. Will he get there? Like you said, with those solidified wins over these old legends, I definitely think it can, transition him to the next, face of the company.
Definitely, and I'm all for the transition era. It's one of those things. These guys, they really can't stay around forever. They're getting up there in age. They want to venture off into other pursuits. They want to spend time with their families. And
exactly. I mean, a lot of these guys, early 80s guys, they stuck with it. It was their careers. A lot of them died in it. 90s guys too. But, if wrestlers started to get a little bit smarter in the way, they treat their bodies, how they take care of themselves. The drug use has been decreased heavily, The steroid use has been decreased heavily. These things, used to be a driving force back in the 80s. Wrestlers are living longer, but they're also learning. They don't have to put their body through all the sacrifice. After a few years, they're getting out. They're moving into Hollywood. Stone Cold went out to Hollywood. The Rock went out to Hollywood. Cena went out to Hollywood. Even
Roman could go off to Hollywood in years to come.
He could. He definitely could. Even Kane went out to Hollywood for a little bit. Hogan went out to Hollywood. In the early 90s. So all these things can, wrestlers are getting smarter, like I said, and they have these other avenues that they can do. They don't have to be stuck in the wrestling life forever. They can still be wrestlers, but they can still, make a name and get out of the, box, so to speak.
And I feel like Vince genuinely wants that. He wants his stars to venture out, but I feel like a lot of fans don't get that. But Vince is a businessman. He's a lot smarter than we think.
Vince wants his people to venture out, but he also wants to get the money off of the profit. That was the whole thing behind the TikToks. And all of them making them use their real names. Here's the thing. Vince owns the rights to most of the wrestlers' names. That's a business thing. If I owned your name and you started running shows and you became famous, you start making millions of dollars off TikTok with something that I own, I mean, by rights, I should be getting a percentage of that.
Absolutely.
It's my property.
That's business 101.
A lot of these wrestlers, I don't know if they offered Vince money or not, but it got to a point that, he saw how they were taking off. And it was like, look, if you want to do this, that's fine. You're not going to use my copyrighted names. It's too much of a liability for me what you do on your social media pages, unless it's, a WWE granted thing. So use your real name if you want to, and go from there. And, some of them did, of course. There was a lot of complaints over this and a lot of issues, but at the end of the day, if these wrestlers don't own their names, I can't tell Vince, I don't feel bad for them. I mean, here's the thing. It's also a liability issue. I mean, if I own, certain wrestlers, and, after the speaking out movement last year, a lot of wrestlers got outed for, using social media accounts to talk to minors, to do things. Well, guess what? They weren't using their real names when they did it. They did it under the names of the wrestling names. And those, again, it will go back to Vince McMahon And he doesn't want that heat. The guy is how old now?
78.
Yeah,
79.
he's been in this, for over 50 years. He just wants, I think he just wants it to run smoothly, get attraction and just kind of end his days on, he's over all the bullshit and all the drama and all the, lawsuits and all that crap. So it's an easy way for him to avoid all that. You want to do stuff, do it on your own. Cool. We fully support you in that, but we also got our platforms that you can use here under our guidance and do your thing from there.
Definitely.
And that's the whole thing with, Vince. He is a businessman. He's a very smart businessman. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be in business for all these years. WWE would not be the giant that it is. It's a global giant for wrestling.
Those YouTube subscribers do not lie at all. They have more YouTube subs than the NBA and UFC combined.
It's
Plus,
true.
you can't even host a WrestleMania at a Madison Square Garden or a TD Garden. It has to be in stadiums.
It does now. It has gotten bigger than things, than it used to be. And it is worldwide. People in India don't really know, who, is playing on the Chicago Bears. But they sure as hell all have a Roman shirt if they're Roman fans. They know who that is. WWE ships them. They have WWE.India. They have, you know what I'm saying? They have a global market. And with global fans, that's bigger than, anything that can be done here in just the States.
For sure. And the WrestleMania name, it's so big right now. You can easily tell WWE's really leveraging the WrestleMania name to draw in more fans.
Oh, yeah, like I said earlier with, the WrestleMania Backlash. They can go on and on and on with that. The whole year could take place about WrestleMania. They could use that, similar set, similar scenery. They can, work all that into their show. They're really not ready to move on the road yet. And, with the reason, let's not be hasty. They have a good thing going in Florida. Thunderdome is pretty good. They got the live events. They can have the capacity. Once they go on the road, there is no stopping that. They have to give up the Thunderdome, and they have to go full steam ahead. The world just isn't quite there yet for all that travel, for all that interaction, for all that. I think they'll wait it out a couple more months. Maybe even have SummerSlam in Florida. Maybe we'll see Survivor Series elsewhere. Then we'll start to see the Raw and Smackdowns on tour again. Maybe we'll see a few house shows here and there.
That's going to be big. I feel like with the year we've had, WWE will come back stronger than before with more and more fans. The energy will be crazy at events. People are really going to be just craving everything WWE.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when they come out, our way, I guarantee they'll sell out the crowd because it'll be the first show back with fans that's taking place in so long. Everybody that's a fan that's going to want to come out and see this thing and support this thing. I think they're going to do extra special shows. I mean, WWE doesn't... Yes, they're a power giant corporation. Yes, they're money hungry. Yes, they're a little bit greedy. They make their cuts. People don't like that. They cut wrestlers. They do shady shit all the time. But they also do care about the fans in a way, and they do try their best to make all of them happy. It's not an easy thing to do when you have such a wide fan base from people that have watched since 1960s all the way to, people that started yesterday in other countries. So you have a lot of people to try to make happy. You can't do it all. You just can't. But it's still around. It hasn't been canceled out in this current day. It hasn't been bankrupt out. He hasn't lost all his money. He has, plenty of endorsements, sponsors, whatever you want to call it. All the, the stock is, doing okay. It's not at a dead rate. And I think that will even come up too when, you get him moving from, state to state when he starts doing shows. More people will be invested in it even more. But for now, I think it's a good choice. Stay in Florida. Get your limited capacities. Again, not everywhere is allowing the same amount of fans, so you're going to lose money in some of the states that are not allowing as much. Florida will give you what you want as of right now. So, doing that and keeping it that way, I think will be their best option.
Agreed. Absolutely. Anything else we should cover, or are we good to go?
I
think we covered a decent amount of ground.
Pretty much, like I said, it's going to be an interesting Smackdown, from the business side of point of view, we did hear Daniel Bryan, say that he did want to take more of a backstage role and kind of, sit it out. This is a perfect way to do so, taking the L to Roman, putting Roman over, and just, I wouldn't say fade. He's going to probably still definitely be part of WWE. This will not be the last time you see him on TV. It just will be in a different manner. He might even manage somebody. Who knows? He has a big potential, so he can do a lot of things. But with that, I'd like to say, tune in, see what happens. We could be dead wrong. Tonight, Daniel Bryan could win, beat Roman, and continue the yes movement all the way until, WrestleMania.
True, and
Survivor Series.
WWE is notorious for those curveballs, so yeah.
If too many people think it's going to happen, they've been known to change things last minute. So we will just have to wait and see. We thank you again for coming on and talking wrestling with us. Another great Friday. Everybody, have a good afternoon. Versace Stoner out.